is Tarik Talk. Your host, Tarik Mendes, takes you on a journey with guests from all around the world. Broadcasting around the world. Around the world. This is Tarik Talk.
All right, guys. Today I'm here with Thomas Carlson. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I'm so glad we get to meet up today. I saw your work like a year ago, and I was always curious to meet the artist. Do you want to start telling us a little bit about yourself?
My name's Thomas Carlson. Was born in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I left when I was 18 because it's too cold there.
Oh, wow.
I went to undergraduate school for originally for 3D animation, but I ended up deciding to really focus on oil painting, and that was down in Sarasota, Florida. So I got out of the cold, moved down south to the warm, and when I was there, I've always really loved a lot about commercial art, but I really just fell in love with some of like the Peter Paul Rubens paintings they had down there in Sarasota, and really wanted to explore more figurative painting. So I ended up at the New York Academy of Art, which is up here in Tribeca in New York, and I've been up here ever since. So.
Oh, cool. So right now you're doing so many things. Do you want to start currently, because I saw on your Instagram the series that you're doing, like the politician leaders, which I think they're so comical and so funny.
Oh, thank you.
So how did you come up with that idea? Because I thought it was like so different and unique.
So right now I'm working on a series of oil paintings. I'll probably make some more, but I've made 11 so far, and they're world leaders like the second after they hit a hole-in-one. So that's this exciting moment where, somebody hits the ball, it goes in the hole, everyone's excited. And it came about because I've always really loved working with the figure. I teach anatomy classes, but it's always been a struggle of trying to figure out how I want to use the figure. And also it's been a little difficult to always, for me at least, develop a consistent, cohesive series. I tend to make a painting, then I'll make a few more, and then I get to one where I'm like, all right, that's the painting. We're good. We're done. I don't need to make that painting anymore.
Yeah.
This series, I like it because there's enough ambiguity with the moment where, you start to question. Hopefully the viewer drops their sense of like, they like the painting, but they still hate the politician, or they like the painting and they like the politician. I mean, there's some divisive ones that some people either love or hate. And it becomes more about this almost this moment in a sport that in most cultures is deemed as a privileged sport.
Yeah.
It takes up a lot of land. It does this thing. And I happen to be a golfer. I'm an avid golfer. I golf twice a week. I love it. It clears my head. It allows me to stay in a place that's really congested and still be outside. So I've been trying to figure out a way to tie that into some of my paintings. I think more than any other series, I've gotten some of the best feedback from this one too. Like right away, people are like, "I love it. It's great." Yeah. So, I'm excited to see sort of where it goes, and also excited because I've got 5 of the pieces. They're going to be at a show in Miami next month. Aqua Art Miami.
Fair,
the 14C group
nice.
Showcase is bringing down some artists, and I happen to be one of them. Thankfully.
Are you going to be there in person?
I'm going to go down, yeah.
Oh, we might see each other then. That's cool.
Oh, you're going?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Nice. I'll be there from the, I think from the 5th to the 11th. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to bring my paint set, do some painting.
Yeah.
So very excited about that.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't rain. I hope it's so sunny and nice.
I hope it doesn't rain.
It's getting colder and colder here.
Yeah, I think it'll be good.
Yeah, I hope so. And congrats on that.
Oh, thank you.
So, how's your creative process? How do ideas come to you?
I play a lot with sourcing. I need to see it. I want to be able to see an image. Whenever I travel, either alone or with my wife, it's like we're going to the museums. She's a landscape architect, so she's always bringing us to the gardens now too,
nice.
Which is great. So we get a little get to see the people and the gardens, and I get to go see the paintings in the museum. So the nice thing about that is, the process. I'm one of these people where I go through shows, I look at art, and I move really fast. Like I'm just kind of trying to find things that, if you go to a show or a museum with me, like I'm, like in a very quick pace. And then when I find something I love, I'll slow way down.
Me too, yeah.
But, that's, I think, a large part of how I get inspiration. And then also technology is really exciting. I've been really inspired by, like, originally when I started finding like 3D scans of people online, just even like Google Images. Yeah. Being able to go into museums and zoom way into paintings. That's exciting. And then also AI. Like I use a lot of AI when it comes to image building. I haven't found any practical purposes as a final form of art, but I certainly think it's very helpful. And it's obviously a little controversial. It's a bit of the camera of today. How if you look at a lot of the art back in the mid 1800s and artists that started using the camera, artists that didn't, and just really how it completely changed the art market. Like you'd make money as a sculptor making death masks, in 1830, but in 1870, people weren't really doing that as much. Or hiring someone to paint your grandma, you just take a picture of her. Yeah. So obviously it's divisive, but I think it's a really good way to take a mirror and aim it at your painting. I remember in art school, like you look through the mirror, you see your painting, you see it different, that kind of creates some sort of change and ultimately allows for you to explore other avenues within the piece. So, so that's mainly where I get my inspiration. And travel is a big,
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously.
And then, are you an artist that, like, when you get into the studio, do you start creating right away, or do you kind of like have to like have a coffee, sit down, think of ideas?
Nowadays, I do a lot of stuff digitally first. So I have an iPad, and I just kind of will have a few images on there that I'm working on. Yeah. And I'll pull together usually anywhere from 20 and 30 images, to develop a composition. And then I'll get it pretty close, and then I'll draw over it. And then I have something where I'm like, okay, this would be cool. This needs to be a painting. Yeah. And then it's almost like the act of painting it is to pay tribute to the image, right? Yeah. Because if I just left it as an image on my iPad, it's going to get deleted. It's going to disappear from history. Yeah. If I make a painting of it, then people aren't going to throw that away. And it's and I have a lot of those now. Oh, wow. So, but yeah, it's nice to have a lot of something too, where you can be like, wow, look at the work that I've done. Yeah. So it's, for me, I don't want to see them, but I just like to know they're there. Yeah. Because it does inspire me to then just kind of keep pressing forward and making more. But yeah. And
do you have a preference, like time of day to create? Are you like a night person or a morning person?
I mean, ideally, I probably do my best work late at night. I don't, anymore. I've sort of like had to convert more to like I'm a daytime painter. Yeah. And I've gotten pretty good. Like I'm kind of the same, as I was. I used to always go to bed at like 4 a.m. and now I'm in bed at like 11:30. Yeah. And that's fine. Yeah. That's okay. You get used to it. It's probably better for me. I have a tendency to like, especially when it's late at night or like Minnesota winter or something like that, you let the obsession get the best of you and you're out all night and, before you know it, you're like the sun's coming up.
Yeah. That's because you're in the zone, right?
Yeah, the art zone. Yeah. It's good. It's a good thing, the art zone, but there's a lot you can do in the studio where you're wasting time. Yeah. And I think you can learn a lot from wasting time while making, but I think it's also good to do other things. You know, I think a lot of artists are guilty of spending too much time in the studio, and then they don't do other things. They don't meet other people. They don't get physically active. You know, I mean, that's one of the nice things I like about golf is it's like I'm meeting people I would literally never meet in any other situation. You know, and you know, I think that's great. I think you should meet as many different types of people as you possibly can.
That's the beauty of life, right?
You know? I think it's great. You know, everybody's got different things you can learn about. You know, you can't shut people out. You know.
And do you have any artists that you're inspired by?
I like artists that are no longer with us. Of that list, I really like John Singer Sargent, Rembrandt. You know, I actually really like a lot of you know, I went to Mexico City a couple years ago and went to Frida Kahlo's house.
Oh, I love.
And it's just something about being in that atmosphere and then like looking at her work, and you know, it's just really amazing. It's the spirit of like documenting what she was going through, but still like doing it in a very symbolic way. Is sort of, I think, what any artist would ever hope to achieve. You know, and I think that's why, you know, I think some of the greatest artists, you know, it can get a little like sometimes redundant. You know how the same best artists are always thrown into everyone's faces, but I think they're the best. They're the ones that like encapsulated themselves in the work the best, like the Van Gogh and artists in that nature. I really like earlier on when I was painting. There's an artist, Wilhelm Hammershøi, who's a Danish painter who did these beautiful interiors and used a limited palette. So he would use like a warm, cool palette. And I was really inspired by that. And that's I think, lately what I've kind of been, where I'm like really trying to like limit my color palette a little bit more in like studies. I haven't really applied it to a series yet. The Hole-in-One series, which you know, I had never painted a golf painting prior to like April. You know, so I mean, it's like my series are like, you know, I do like 6 months bursts. I'm doing this now, and then you know, last year I was doing something different that involved AI, and then I do a lot of paintings that document my life. You know, like there's been a couple of instances recently where I was ill, and I
was just about to ask that, like the hospital series.
So there's.
I thought it was phenomenal.
So those paintings people react to really well too, and they're hard to paint. You know, I mean, they're not like, you know, it's like, oh, that should, you know, I don't think anyone's ever said like, oh, that should be your thing, but you know, when you make a painting and then overwhelmingly more people tell you about it, and not just like, oh, it got more likes or it got more whatever, or it got more comments, connected. But like people like send you messages and they call you and they're like, wow. You know, that's the series was 2 instances where one, I made a bunch of paintings at the beginning of 2001. I got COVID real bad, sick for 2 weeks. Then I was hospitalized for I think like 10 days, and they eventually gave me drugs to make it better. And then I wasn't great for like a year and a half. Like I was off. And then at the start of this year, I found out I had cancer. So I had leukemia.
My God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. So I got treatment. I got chemo, which sucks. I can attest to it. It's not a lot of fun. But, you know, it saved my life. But I do have it's hairy cell leukemia, which it stays with you your whole life. It's actually like a lymphoma. But you know, it's treatable. So it wasn't like, you know, there was probably a couple months leading into it where I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with me. And at least now I know. And it didn't kill me. So. And
this was after COVID?
This was this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this was...
No, like, I mean, after you had the COVID.
Oh, yeah. COVID was started 2021, and then this was started this year. So yeah, there's been a lot of opportunities to paint myself in the hospital. Yeah. But, you know, it's and I guess there's something going on at that time where maybe you're emoting more. Yeah. You know, I had a painting teacher a long time ago telling me, like, when you make a painting, you should feel something. It doesn't even matter what you feel, but you should feel something. And, you know, I'm not a very, I'm certainly not a religious person, not a very spiritual person, but I do think there's something there, you know, when you're feeling something. some sort of ability to communicate something onto this canvas or board or whatever it is. That would make me second guess things, because I do think that those pieces, even digital, because a lot of the pieces that I did, I went to this place to get treatment, wonderful place. This guy, Dr. Simon Badine, great guy.
Shout out to him.
Shout out to Simon, saving my life.
Yeah.
And I got a pretty standard treatment, but it was interesting because I went there and it was a very local. It was up on JFK, and it was very local, and people were going in for different, supplements, and so it was very much like you're in a room with a bunch of people from that neighborhood and from around there, and it was just a great opportunity to sit there and draw on my iPad.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of portraits of people, and I probably will show them at some point. I'm still figuring out how I'm going to do it, but I have about, I don't know, I think 12 or 13 portraits of people. Because, you're just sitting there. They hook you up, and you're just kind of hanging around for 3 hours.
That was going to be my question, because I was like, when I saw the series on Instagram, I was wondering, like, did you paint that by memory, or did you, like, sketch that in person, and then later it got...
a lot of there's a couple pieces in that series where the person, I asked them and they just posed.
Yeah.
Because it's like, hey, you're hooked up, I'm hooked up.
Why not? Yeah.
Why not? You want me to draw you? And they were always very cool with it. And then there was one shot where I took like a couple of pictures and stitched them together digitally, which I still actually probably need to do some work on. And that was more of like a composing it, changing things perspective-wise. And then there were a couple where I just did like a snapshot and did a painting. And I have a couple of watercolors where I'm in them. So what I did with that, I have one watercolor of my wife and I, and it was like right before I was about to get chemo. So I'm like in the room, like they're about to hook me up. I'm like obviously very nervous because it's like you don't hear good things about it. You're just kind of like sitting there, and also by that point, the cancer and everything really taken its toll. With hairy cell, it's like you kind of want to let it get to a certain point of badness before you then get hooked up, because it's kind of like they hit it back and then it grows back. So it's like obviously you want to do it when it's its worst. So then it takes longer on the back end. But so I'm sitting in this room and I'm like, hey, can you take a picture of me? And then I'm like, all right, great. Now you sit down in that chair. And then I went back and I took a picture of us. And I painted, stitched them together digitally. And then I looked at it on my iPad and I painted it. But I think a lot of it is the painting it while you're feeling that emotion, Because, I painted it while I was going through the treatment. I painted it while it was like, I remember what that felt like. And I think what's hard about pieces like that is, you make them and then you're really just sitting there and you do it and then you want to put it past you because it was hard. And I think that's what's tough about it being like an ongoing series. Like it's like, oh yeah, that's the guy. Oh yeah, that's that oil painter. Thomas Carlson. He's the guy that paints himself sick all the time. Like it's not really where I want to be at, but they're like it's like a B-side. It's like, oh, and there's this other thing. Like it's Rembrandt has some paintings that he has his like series of Samson going around, and Samson's like shaking his hand at people and being kind of a jerk and pushing people around and doing his thing. And then he has this like really heartfelt portraits of Saskia and himself like as an old man. You know, it's like I appreciate them both equally. Obviously one during his lifetime made money and afforded him the ability to paint some more. Obviously Rembrandt famously, he made it past the finish line, but he outlived pretty much everyone in his family, sadly, and he died incredibly poor. His body was thrown into a rental plot. Like he was like not Yeah, he got beat up pretty bad. Not very good with money,
Mm-hmm.
and also, well, the Dutch
Yeah.
East India Company and the British East India Company decided to start a hot war in the middle of his
Mm-hmm.
middle of his career. So obviously militias weren't commissioning a lot of artists
Yeah.
during that time period. But yeah, it's sorry, I'm going on.
No. I love hearing you talk. My next question was gonna be like you being an artist and going through such a tough time. Do you think that kind of like gave you kind of like a shot of energy, like like it helped you get through that difficult time?
Making art.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think that it's better than feeling a lot of the crap.
Mm-hmm.
I had to take 2 drugs. One was cladribine, and one was this other one, rituximab. Cladribine, it just is the chemo, and my stomach hurt so bad.
Yeah.
Like it literally felt like someone took like a lighter
Oh my god.
and just like brought it to the top of your stomach and just like burned it.
Oh wow.
So anything I could do to like not think about that.
Mm-hmm.
And the rituximab messed with my brain. So it was like my wife Elizabeth was so amazing throughout the process, but it would be like I'd be watching television and she would come and say something to me, and having like the 2 things hit me, just like kind of just fumbled me and made me feel really like aggravated. Like I couldn't handle that, like that multiple stimuli. So that was very frustrating. So painting, I think, helped me focus. Like it was just like, this place I could go and just focus on the thing, and then when I'd be done, I'd be happy about that, and then when I'd be finished, I'd be excited to start the next thing. But yeah, so I'd say it definitely helped for sure.
And we previously chatted before the episode, and then you were telling me you run a business, right?
Right.
Do you want to tell us a little bit more?
Yeah, so I run Jersey City Art School. We actually started teaching classes out of a 2-bedroom apartment in Jersey City. And it was called Hamilton Park Studio. And it was in 2007. And I ran basically 2 sessions. And I got kind of a nice, cushy residency offered to me. So I ended up leaving to do this residency for 6 months. And then when I came back, thankfully, the residency, I made a decent amount of money, making these paintings and managing this studio. So I was able to pay off some student loans, and then also I had a little bit of money to put into a business. So I started looking for storefronts and asking around. And a friend of mine at the time had a vintage store that she was closing, and approached me and said, "Hey, you might be interested in this." And it happened to be downstairs from where I lived.
No way. Oh, wow.
So I opened up the Jersey City Art School. I kind of went back and forth at first. I made a sign that said like Thomas John Carlson Art Studio. This is my art studio. And I teach classes out of my named art studio. And then I became very scared that I wasn't going to be able to get enough students to pay the rent. And I didn't really have any other income stream. So I decided Jersey City at that time, there was nowhere where you could take art classes, if you were just a part of the community. Except for maybe there was like the ceramic studio in Bergen Lafayette. I think he was open at that time. But aside from that, there was nothing really going on. So I ended up renaming it Jersey City Art School, and started doing figure drawing sessions there, started a few other things. And there was like some different art spaces in Jersey City at the time. 58 Gallery was where I showed art. So there was a lot of like great momentum with that space. And I was hoping I could just really focus on the education and do a lot of those.
And can you share the
classes.
website really quick for people listening?
It's JC Art School, and that's singular, ART SCHOOL.com, Jersey City Art School, jcartschool.com, or just Google Jersey City Art School. But we do a lot of classes. We have kids classes, but mainly we've always really focused on adult programs. Lately, I've been really trying to push the programs to move more towards digital, because there's a lot of opportunity with animation. There's a lot of opportunity with that. But, I'm a traditional oil painter, so we have a lot of, like, beginner drawing and painting classes, and a lot of anatomy classes. I've gotten a lot of physical trainers that like those classes. And Sunday morning we do a watercolor painting class.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's nice. It would be lovely to like hang out with people in the community.
Yeah.
And
how long have you had the business for?
Opened in 2009, January 2009. So we actually ran classes at the end of 2008. We used to be on 5th Street, and then we were on the corner where Word Bookstore was on Hamilton Park. And then now the classes are at 313 3rd Street, which also is a gallery space, and we rent studio spaces there. And I've been renting that space since December 2010.
Oh, nice. So, wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, it's a while.
Yeah, that's a minute.
I feel different.
That's amazing.
I'm like a different person.
No, yeah, that's amazing. So anybody like listening, if they're interested in like taking an art class or like taking their kids to get creative, they can just like go on the website, reach out to you.
That's right. Yeah, you just sign up online. If you have questions, you can call or text. Probably text, because like everyone, I'm sure everyone is getting a million sales calls just like me. Yeah. So I don't always pick up the phone right away.
Especially today. So as having a business owner, being an entrepreneur, are you able to like for example, like work in the business and still get creative as an artist, or do you have days where it's like a business day only and then an art day only?
Good question. So one of the biggest struggles I've always had with running my business has been, I think in the beginning I was overly attentive to the business, and I stopped painting as regularly. Like I would paint in class and I would do demos, but I in some forms halted the creative process because I was putting all my energy into the business. And during that time period, looking back on it, I feel bad because I wasn't as attentive to relationships. I wasn't as attentive to friends. Like I was just so singularly focused, and kind of just freaked out that I was going to at some point lose the amount of students I was regularly getting. Around that time, I also expanded and started renting studio spaces to people. So that was a whole nother set of problems where it's logistical, and people show up and they bring people to their studio, and it's like a party at the studio now. And neighbors are calling me. It's like a whole new thing, and where they need things fixed. So.
Oh my gosh, so you were doing basically everything. Like,
yeah, I was doing all that, and it became overwhelming. So I think in the beginning, the problem was being overly attentive to the business, thinking about it all the time, business expenses, all that. And then I kind of went the other way, where I was just like, I hit the wall, and I'm like, I'm going to lose my mind. I went the other way and was like, I want to be creative again. Got really into music, writing music, playing music. Doing whatever I could. I played trumpet when I was younger.
Nice.
I just wanted to sing, so I started singing. Just getting super creative, and then going the other way with it. And that ping-ponging of like getting way too focused and then not being focused at all, I think eventually kind of settled in, and I kind of hit this stretch where I started hiring people. Okay. So when I focused on the business was when I had that person hired. Like I get together with them. I had like a little office space. I'm like, all right, this is what we're going to do today. We're going to make flyers for this. We're going to generate a coupon code system. We're going to do these things. And really tried to make a shot at like, okay, thinking in terms of like, well, it's really not a business until you can walk away and leave for a while and it still runs itself. Like, and ultimately hit a stretch of doing that for a while. But, if you run something like a for-profit art studio, it's going to be really multifaceted. And people in the community see it, and it's not a conventional space. So they're like, oh, that's a big open space. I want to rent it for a birthday party. I want to rent it for a wedding. I want to rent it for this.
Yeah.
So before I knew it, I was doing like a little bit of all that.
Yeah. Wow.
Which was fine because
Yeah.
I'm a social person. I loved that. In undergrad, like I was the place that had the house where you went to for a party.
Yeah,
you know, like you come to my house, like because I like facilitating it.
Yeah.
I don't really know what to do in a situation where, I'm just kind of hanging out and talking about the same stuff over and over again. I get very like, I need to make something.
Yeah.
I need to be creative or my brain kind of like starts spinning out a little. I think now I have a better understanding of where I'm capable of working and how far I'll go with my business, and then the amount that I really do at the end of the day know that my paintings are my legacy. Like do whatever I need to do to just keep making the paintings.
Yeah.
The paintings are going to be more important than anything. Make enough money to buy my time back, work on the paintings, and then also teach people that want to be taught. I started teaching at Montclair State recently, just 1 day a week, but 2 classes, and it's great. They call me professor.
Oh, wow.
It's like I see them getting better, and they're not like there for fun.
Yeah.
And I love the students in Jersey City. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade that for the world, but I need to be teaching on a couple of different levels.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Like like interacting with different demographics, right?
Yeah, but also not. Yeah, and if one of the demographics is like people that are gonna go and keep making art for the next 50 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a 19-year-old that has like 60 more, 70 more years of making art.
Yeah.
Like that to me, I gotta be teaching some of those people. Like 1 day a week maybe, and then I teach. I teach every Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and then all day Sunday at the art school.
Oh, wow.
Thursday night I do band practice. Fridays open, Saturdays usually open, and then I'm painting throughout my days.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like fell into a pretty steady routine.
You
now.
got like the sweet spot schedule now. Like how to maneuver.
Yeah. There's some golf.
Yeah, a little golf. Why not, right?
There's some golf in the middle of the day. That cuts into the painting time a little bit, but
And you mentioned music. Can you tell us about you started with trumpet?
Yeah. So I'm in a band that I've been in now since probably 2011.
Oh, wow.
And we're gonna start releasing stuff. I think that as an artist, for me, I fell in love with the aspects of making music, and really loved like the process of like bringing in different sounds, like messing around with GarageBand on iPad. And it was at a time in Jersey City where a lot of musicians were kind of like meeting up with other musicians and like writing stuff and getting a practice space and recording. So I met my friend Gabe Perry and Rudy and Rudy Stamp, a few other people. I met up with the sculptor Ryan, and then my actually now ex-wife Susan, and we started writing music as a band. It was called Papermaker. So Papermaker's taken on quite a few different forms, and has now been around for a while. And I've continuously played with Alex joined the band almost immediately. Continuously played with Gabe and Alex, and we have this studio practice, and we're going to be publishing 7 songs.
Oh, wow.
And they're mainly songs that we wrote during the pandemic, with also John Messina and Josh Barsh, John on keys and Josh on the drums. And John is mixing down everything. Yeah. So we're getting together, and now we're kind of working on the stuff that I originally got into music for, which was like I started making animations, I started making paintings to music, album covers, and I'm like, I really... I made an animation, and then I was like, I got to make music for the animation. And I think that's what kind of started it. Was I started writing something goofy on the piano, really got into like dorking out about like, the rule of fifths. That's how this works. Okay, cool. And then making that work together. And since I'm social, I pick my musicians' friends' brains about it, and like, well, how does this work, or what does this mean? And many of them stepped in and ended up just naturally evolving into this process. There's something also about talking to and hanging around musicians where the creative process is so collaborative. It's one of the things that now, after running an art school for almost a decade and a half, it's one of the flaws that I look back on with the visual arts, in the sort of like postmodern teaching aesthetic in this country. It's mainly about newness and about like, well, that's already been done, so you can shelve that idea. Whereas exercising the use of the tools, if you imagine like a visual arts class, in a situation like that, if you're focused on newness, there's no opportunity for you to like learn craft, right? So in music, like I played the trumpet. I was first chair trumpet. I really got into it, but I wasn't making up trumpet songs. I was playing pre-existing compositions in a room with a lot of people, and it was about craft. So I think that is one of the failures of the visual art world, and why there's kind of, I think, a backlash now. Why I've been able to make a for-profit business work like Jersey City Art School is there's a demand for craft. And in music, I typically, because that craft and that ability to get with a group of people to learn something that is relearn something, reinterpret something that already exists, gives people more of an opportunity to do what humans work on every day in normal conversation, which is the craft of conversation and the craft of collaboration. So my version of getting back into this creative state was to work with artists that were musicians that were more familiar with that process. So I learned a lot from that. But we're going to be releasing an album. I'll probably do a series of singles.
Will it be like the end of this year or like first quarter next year?
It's going to be first quarter next year. We're probably originally going to we were going to play a show, but we had a few things happen, and now I believe we're going to be doing our show on the 1st of February at the Pet Shop, and then we'll probably do a show before that. We're going to try to line up a few things. Hopefully get something out in New Hope and a few other spots. So we're going to start probably with a release of a single maybe by the end of this year in December, and then we'll probably release another single in January, maybe a couple in January, and then obviously a couple more when we have our big release party, which will be in February. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the whole music has obviously been turned on its head with streaming and all that. I was about
to say, do you guys have any material right now out for streaming that we can listen to?
Papermaker has a podcast, so there are 3 tracks that are out. If you look up Papermaker Music under Apple, you should be able to find it. But I don't. None of it's on Spotify, but they will be soon. So, looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait to listen. And how do you find the comparing like the creative process in art and the creative process in music for you? Like, how's that experience?
Personally, I think that the creative process in music is there's been a couple songs where I'm like, all right, this is a song I wrote, and I'll usually grab my phone and it will be like voice memo, and I'll be in my car and I'll be like hitting the steering wheel and like singing like a line. There's probably a couple of the songs in this recent album that were written that way. Most of them were improv. So we have a studio. We have about 16 audio lines. We hook up to everything and record everything that we do. And Gabe's an amazing guitarist. Alex is an amazing bassist. They kind of start laying it down. And, drums will come in, keys will come in, and we'll just find a mode, and then we'll listen back to it and say, okay, well, this part is great, and that part's great, and then we'll take that, and then we'll try to, in the next session, try to recreate that. And then once we've recreated it, sometimes I'll sit down and be like, all right, well, I got to write some lyrics for the chorus, or I got to perfect this. So I'll write down something, usually to the beat. So it is truly like
it's like a genuine collaborative creative process. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's something about the process that I found out is just like when we're in the middle of it, I'll just start saying things.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't call it, it's not like really rap.
Yeah.
And it's not really like, a trap. It's not, sometimes I'll dabble, a little bit, but it's more like trying to find,
like a melody in a way.
Like, like it's almost like if you imagine like going to art school and learning painting, you learn about images that inspire ambiguity. Within music, I started thinking in terms of how to rewrite some of the hooks and the lyrics, and it translates really well, which is nice. I think music has always been sort of my favorite connection to the visual arts, because visual artists, at least me as a visual artist, is there's a slight obsession with not dying, like, and there's like a little bit of a I really love my favorite paintings by any artist are paintings they do towards the end of their life. Like I don't know what it is. Like I always smell them out. I'm like, oh, I love that piece, and it's like, oh well, guy had lived like another year. Like there was something. Yeah,
I'm like that too. That's funny.
Something that had going on. So I think visual artists, they know that the piece of art, more than anything else, is their lineage, is their way of, it's their version of like, almost like a giving birth in a sense. A man making this thing, or even a woman. Either one, anyone at all making a piece of art. It's essentially how you're projecting yourself into the future. And in music, you do that as well, because you can record it, right? I mean, you can do that with any of the forms, but in music, you have a lot of control of that. I think it, in contrast to something like dance, which is so immediate and temporal, it's I think usually if you're a creative thinker, you gravitate towards painting if you have that concern. Whether you know it or not.
And have you always, going back to your creative process, have you always painted in oil, that like from the beginning?
I started with acrylic. I really my first online handle on AOL was acrylic 16.
Oh wow!
So
AOL.
I really liked acrylic for a while. It was my favorite medium, and I think my sophomore year of college, I tried oil again. I had tried, like, somebody gave me some water-soluble oils. I did not like how they felt, like, at an early age. So I switched over to oil and did some oil paintings for, like, an illustration assignment when I was in undergrad. And then I fell in love. I'm like, well, this is what I've been wanting acrylic to do this whole time. So I primarily work with oil. If I want an acrylic look, I work digitally. And I really love watercolor now too. I do a lot of watercolor paintings.
As you said, on Sundays, right, too, especially.
Come on out. Sundays, Jersey City Art School. It's you do some watercolor as well. It's a great travel medium. And I really love working with gouache on top of it. I think it's a little bit more. It's funny because a lot of the oil painting friends that I have all are scared of watercolor, and then a lot of the novice that have always worked with watercolor are scared of oil. And it's watercolor is just more like obvious. It's like the hat man is wearing a yellow hat. Paint the hat yellow. Paint the man whatever flesh tone. What's his color of his shirt? That color, and then you just sort of let it do its thing, which is like kind of one of the side effects of like just kind of bloop bloop bloop. Kind of a more direct novice approach. Whereas an oil painter, they usually have like, it's almost more of an equation, where it's like you got to do this, and you do that, then you do that, then you do that. And watercolor doesn't like that.
No, watercolor,
watercolor doesn't like that.
At the end of the day, watercolor is the boss.
Exactly. Right? Absolutely.
Perfect. All right, Thomas, thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad we got a chance to talk. You have so much going on, from the JC Art School to the art fair coming up in December, the new 8 singles dropping soon that I can't wait to hear. Do you mind just telling us your Instagram?
Yeah, my Instagram is tjc.paints. And Papermaker is Papermaker Music. So you can follow us there. And Jersey City Art School is JC Art School. So
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Perfect. And are you open to commissions? Like if somebody's listening to the podcast while we're speaking, they really love your work and they reach out to you?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I do portrait commissions. I also do a lot of digital commissions as well.
Mm-hmm.
I did a reconstruction of a historical house recently, which was a kind of a 2-point perspective piece. But yeah, I do take commissions, so thanks for asking.
Yeah, of course. So please reach out to him. He's the best in the city.
Oh.
And thank you so much for being here once again. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Till next
Thank
time.
you.
Till part 2 when you have everything completed next year.
All right, excellent.
All right,
Thank you
cool.
so much. Very nice having you having me out. I appreciate
Thank you.
that.
My
Thank you.
pleasure. Till next time, guys.
Thank you for listening to Tarik Talk. Follow Tarik Talk on all social media channels and check out the video interviews online.